Alright. Oh, no, that's not. Alright, so I'm Nordiqued up tonight. I, I don't know if I've done this video before, and if I have, I'm going to do it different tonight than I've done it before. So, one of the big hitters that I get on my channel are hit videos. So, dirty hits happen, I post a video. Whether they really are dirty or they're not, I post a video. The one thing that I've noticed, and it's really weird to me, and I mean this genuinely. There's a mentality among some fans, and it's a minority. It is a small minority. All hits are legal. I haven't had a video I've done yet of a hit where I haven't had fans come in and say, oh, that's legal. Oh, that's fine. Or my favorite is, well, he deserved it. The problem with the vigilante idea is it's an idea from the 70s, early 80s. It was not unusual, and I'm old enough to remember this, in the 80s to see a guy get absolutely drilled and say, he deserved it. Look where he was on the ice. He deserved it. That's stupidity. I've discussed at length numerous times on videos that have not had a lot of traction. The concussions and the issue the NHL has had in the past, and that there is a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit, which I have no doubt the NHL is going to end up paying dearly to cover, that is controlling their actions right now. Because, as I've stated in previous videos, Gary Bettman and the boys can't sit down and say in front of a judge, well, we're doing our best to mitigate the problem of headshots and of head injuries, and then have somebody come in and say, this hit, this hit, this hit, this hit, no penalty, no suspension by the league. Tell us again what you're doing about head hits. And then what the current footage would show, on top of the past footage, it would show a pattern that the NHL is not learning from, and they're paying out big time. It's a fast game. I get that. I do. And there are certain times and moments in a game with full body contact that, things are going to happen. There's always going to be collisions in games like this, or a game like football. There's going to be collisions that happen that you once go, oh my God. And both guys could be hurt. And there have been nasty looking hits where the guy who delivers the hit is almost as bloodied, or sometimes worse, than the guy who took the hit. The thing that I find weird is, and I say this as a fan of both the Canucks and the Bruins, currently wearing Nordiques to try to be neutral because I don't have a horse in this fight either. When Marty McSorley did what he did with, I believe it was Donald Brashear, I was horrified. When Bertuzzi did what he did to Steve Moore, I knew it was going to be a massive suspension. No doubt in my mind. Could I understand why Vancouver wanted to go after Moore? Sure. The history was there. There were mistakes made by Crawford, Burke, and the Canucks leadership. Massive mistakes. And Bertuzzi paid the ultimate price because it was his temper and his opportunity. And rather than, just ragdoll Steve Moore a little bit and let him go, and then be able to call him whatever name you wanted to after the game and just let it be at that, he decided to punch him in the back of the head and knock him out. I never defended Raffi Torres either. His numerous hits as a Canuck. And I've never viewed the game that way. I'm a fan of hockey. and I'm a fan of hockey as it is in its purest form and skill. I like it when skill reigns. Last night's game between Pittsburgh and Winnipeg is an example of that in one regard. The Sestito hit was dirty. 4-game suspension is a dirty hit. And the shame of it is, the game was entertaining as hell. And it was a 6-3 score because nobody played defense. In the 80s, and this is what gets used a lot, is the difference between, the fire wagon hockey in the 80s and now. In the 80s, it was all skill. Your team goes up against my team, and we just play all out and see who the best team is. Then the 95 Devils came along and decided to play the trap. And it worked. Suddenly, the most skilled team didn't necessarily win the game. The Devils were a good team. They weren't a great team, but they won the cup because they played as a team. They limited the shots against, and they made it so that they could win without any offense, or with very little offense. And since then, the game has sort of lost something. It's getting back there. But when I hear people talk about goals against and save percentage in the 80s, I say, okay, the goalie's equipment was nothing compared to what it is now. And nobody played defense. You just load up any video from the 80s of goals being scored and watch as players just skate through the defense and score. And it was both ways. Because it was, you play your best, I play my best, we just go all out and see who can score the most goals. That was hockey then. And I would even trace it back a little further. So, the 95 Devils were the biggest example of that. 1986, there was a rookie named Patrick Roy that came into the league. And that Montreal Canadiens team didn't allow very many goals or very many opportunities, and they were stingy. They were stingy, and Roy was a fantastic goaltender. And I noticed from that year on, and I was 13 when they won, and I noticed from that year on that the team that had the best goals against average during the season did pretty well in the postseason. The teams that played really good defense seemed to do really well in the postseason. And it started to change. Those hits were part of fire wagon hockey. I admit that. Absolutely. But here's the thing. The hits are against the rules for a reason. And whether you agree or you disagree with a hit being against the rules, it is. There are plenty of hits I see in football that are just, like in the NFL, that are just like jaw-dropping. And they're against the rules. They're great hits. But, yeah, they're against the rules. Especially on quarterbacks. There are times where you watch a quarterback just get drilled. You're like, wow, what a hit. And there's the flag. So it's a tremendous hit. It makes you very interested in the outcome of the game, and you're sucked in by that hit, but it doesn't make it legal. It is not a legal hit. And last night's hit on Enstrom, not a legal hit. And of course, it is true. Sestito's going to go back to the American Hockey League. He's a hired gun for Pittsburgh, and that's it. That's all there is to it. And it does harken back to the 80s, where you have that hired gun that comes in just for certain games. And I really thought we had come out of that. I thought the game had grown, and I didn't think the game was missing anything. Sestito's hit didn't help Pittsburgh win the game. It didn't really distract Winnipeg. Winnipeg had been distracted right from the start, because to them it was all about running Malkin down. And all they did was wake Malkin up. Backfired. So, it's one of those things that I'm not sure. I guess for me, I don't find the entertainment value in guys getting injured. And I never did. I want fire wagon hockey. To be honest, I would love to see fire wagon hockey come back. I would love to see two coaches stand at the bench, look at each other and say, all right, we're going to go for it. All out, all offense, let's go. Let's see who can score the most goals tonight. May the best team win. I miss that. But I don't miss the goonery. I don't miss it. Because it was ugly back in the 70s and 80s. And hockey is a sport like that. It does bring out those emotions. You can get very, very angry very, very quickly. It doesn't forgive it. And it doesn't mean that 30 years later we can't show that we have evolved the sport. Because those hits are what gets seen in American media, which is another reason why the NHL frowns on it. Because the American media covers that to the ends of the earth. And Bettman and the boys don't want that on American media. Even if it brings attention to the league, because it makes it look amateurish, makes it look like a circus, makes it look like a caricature of Slapshot, and it doesn't bring new fans to the game. And that is the name of the game for the NHL. So, again, whether people agree with it or not, it's the way the rules are called, and I agree with it, personally. You know, I see those hits and I go, yeah, that's a suspension. I personally think 4 games, I guess I'm okay with that. I thought it was going to be more, personally, because of, to me, it was the intent. But he did get thrown out of the game, so because he got thrown out of the game, technically it's 5 games he'll have missed. And then he just goes back to the American Hockey League. So that brings out a whole other issue that may very well get visited in the offseason. The idea of calling up an enforcer for 1 game to go out there and fight and stir up shit and then send him back to the minors. The NHL may find some way to loophole around that. I don't know. It's one of those off-season things that could happen. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Again, I'm not trying to come across as being a wuss or anti-hitting. I love hitting. I love good, solid, strong hits. Scott Stevens was one of my favorite defensemen. He flirted with the line. He did cross it occasionally, but the guy could throw a hit. And in Vancouver, you know, Jovokop, Ed Jovanovski, that some of the hits that kid threw they were just amazing. So I'm not against that hockey, but there's a limit. And some players go way over it. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And I will be back discussing more hockey-related topics tomorrow as I watch the Canucks losing in the 3rd. But it's okay, because this is all about next season. And Thatcher Demko got his first shutout. And he's 5-0 in his last 5. And he's got a .961 save percentage in those 5 games for Utica. Kids for real. Kids for real. All right. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to y'all again tomorrow.